Hi, this is Karen with Karen's Cards and More, and today we're going to make this pop-up corner fold card featuring the Pansy Petals Suite. I love this suite, and I was thinking of this card and what stamps and dies to use with it, and immediately I went to the Pansy set because it's just such a unique set, and I'm going to show you some fun things with this. But let me show you the inside of this card. So we have the pop-up element here, and then we have the corner here. You could easily make it to go with the other corner if you would rather it come this way. You could do that, but we're going to go this way. So let's talk about what you need to make this card. The stamp set, like I said, that's the Pansy Petal set. Here's the Pansy Patch stamp set, and there's a coordinating die set that you can get. We're going to be using several elements from the suite. The die set is called the Pansy Dies. We're going to use, if you get the suite, it comes with the designer series paper, and we're also using that today. So getting the suite would be a great value because you'd have both the stamp set and the die set, and you'd also have the designer series paper that we're going to use. I also am using, I'm just checking the name of it. I'm using the painted labels dies that I got with the painted poppies, and I'm using this label here on the card. Not using the stamp set, just the die set. So let's start with what kind of paper, what the dimensions that you would need. So I'm using one of the new in colors. I'm using the Soft Succulent card base. And this is just the standard size, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then you're going to need 2 pieces of designer series paper that are 5 1/4 by 4, and then a piece of basic white that is also 5 1/4 by 4. And then this designer series paper has a couple of patterns, and you can see I've already die cut some of this, but there's 2 sheets that the dies work really well. Let me bring in the dies. So you have the outline shape of the pansies. Now you could make your own pansies, but for today's card, I'm using these designer series paper, and this larger die, you can cut out these larger pansies, and then there's the littler one that you can use this to cut them out. There's 2 different leaf dies that you can use to cut out the leaves from this piece of designer series paper. So we're also going to be using those. And I just want to show you, I already have cut out several different ones, not knowing which ones we were going to choose to use. So I just cut out several, and whatever I don't use for this card, I would always have available to use for another card. So I just cut out several of the different leaves and the flowers, okay? So let me move this back out of the way. And then the other thing you'll need, I took a piece of, this is a piece of the cardstock, the cardboard that came in a pack of the small 6x6 paper. And I cut this 2 3/4 by 3 1/2. And then I cut it on the diagonal. So I had 2 pieces. I ended up with 2 pieces that looked the same, and it was just that, let me show you the other piece, if I can get to it. So this was 2 3/4 by 3 1/2, and then I just cut it on the diagonal. Now we're only going to use the 1 piece for our template today, and I marked that A, and you'll see why that's important since it's plain white and we would have no other way to differentiate the sides. I just marked that with an A so I would know that's side 8. And like I said, we're going to see why that's important in a moment. Okay, so let's get started with the card. The first thing we're gonna do is with the card base, and I'm just gonna go ahead and fold this. I already have it scored at the 4 1/4, and so we're just going to go along that fold, and I'm just gonna get my bone folder, and I'm gonna burnish that. And I'm going to bring in my scoreboard, because I'm going to need this. Now, if you have the Score Buddy, that might be an easier way to get this impression because you're going to be going through 2 layers of cardstock. I used this and it worked out. So, using side A, I'm just going to hold this in the corner of my card with my card folded. So, I'm going to line it up, and then I'm going to remove the piece of cardboard. And then I'm going to score. And there we have it. So we learned that together. And then I'm just going to bend this forward and back just a few times. And then when you open it up, you're going to just push it towards the inside. And then I'm going to come back with my bone folder. And I'm just going to go over these folds. And I even like to open it up and stick my bone folder on the inside and go over that inside one just to make it smoother. So now you want to take your DSP your designer series paper that you want on the outside and your basic white. You can do these 2 together. You don't want to do the piece that you're going to put on the inside yet. So think about your card. We need to cut this top corner out. So I'm going to do basically the same. I'm going to come in with my template, and I'm going to put that in the corner, and I'm going to hold that, and I'm just going to cut both of these at the same time. I'm just going to hold that on there. And I'm going to line that up. And I'm just going to pull my template out. And I'm just going to cut that like that. Now we're done with these 2 for now. Now we have to do this one, but because this is going on the top part, we need the lower corner. So the way to get this correct, and this is why you want to label the A, you need to flip it over and use the back side to do the lower left corner, just like that. And we're going to do the same process. We're going to hold it in there. And then we're just going to cut that like that. Now, for our corner pieces, when you think about the side, the smaller side, you want to, if you look on your trimmer, you can see this line here is the 1/2 inch line. So we're going to line that up on that line. And we're going to slice off 1/2 inch. This is going to make our triangles fit the way we want them to. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do the same thing with the other 2 pieces. So I've got to think about how this goes. This goes in the top corner. So I'm going to put that on that 1/2 inch line. Slice that. And then I'm going to do this as well, the white piece. Okay. All right, now we're done with the trimmer. So I'm going to bring this piece back in. We're ready to work on it. So I am going to come in with my Stampin' Seal, and I'm just going to put some adhesive on the back of my front piece and get it adhered down. And I find it's easier to line up the long side. That way I can get a good idea. And that looks pretty good, so I'm going to line that there. And then my other corner piece is going to go here. So I'm going to put some Stampin' Seal on it. And then we're going to go to the inside. And the Designer Series paper piece, we're just going to go ahead and put on. That's at the top part. I'm just going to go ahead and get this put on. For some reason, I think it's easier to line up the two corners like that. And I'm going to go ahead and put some on the other piece. I'm going to turn this so I can line up the sides. Let me turn it this way. It's the best way for me to get my hands out of the way and be able to line it up. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead, because we're not going to do any stamping on this white piece, I'm going to go ahead and put it on. The other white piece we're going to do some stamping on, so I don't want to adhere it until we get our stamping done. So this piece we're just going to go ahead and put on. Like that. Okay, now we're ready to do our stamping. So our two pieces that we're going to stamp our label, and we're going to stamp this piece. Let's start with the label, because that's the easy one. And I'm going to use this new in color Soft Succulent. I just stuck my finger in my ink pad, so I better wipe that off before I go messing with it. So I'm just going to bring in the Happy Birthday from this Pansy Petal set. And I need to bring in my foam pad. I'm just going to ink this up. And I don't like the way the ink is on the stamp, so I'm just going to clean it off and start over. Got some ink right in the middle, and I'm afraid that will come off on my paper, so I'm just going to ink this up again. Okay. And I'm just going to line this up. Okay, got that done. And we're done with the Soft Succulent. So I'm going to close that up. And then for this piece, let me bring back, if I can find my original, and show you, we're just going to do a stamp. We're going to do a couple of pansies. So, and this is the smaller size pansy. So we're going to need, I'm using the Daffodil Delight. I'm using the Fresh Freesia. And I'm using Rich Razzleberry. I'm also going to be using a sponge dauber. So I'm going to start with this more solid, and I'm using the smaller pansy. So I'm going to start with the more solid of the image, and I'm going to ink this in the Fresh Freesia. And we're going to stamp it twice. And the first time we're going to do it full strength. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to stamp it again without re-inking, because I wanted the two different colors of the pansies. So then there's another part of the stamp that's this more detailed portion, and I'm not going to ink this whole thing. I'm going to use my dauber, and I just want to sponge the rich razzleberry on this bottom portion. I'm not going to sponge it on the two top portions. If you wanted it on that, you could just put the whole thing in your ink pad and do it that way, but I just want the bottom part of the detail. So I'm just going to sponge it on the parts that I want it. And I will try not to get my head in the camera. This is one of those that I always want to make sure I get lined up. So I'm just going to stamp it on there, and then I'm just going to bring it down and stamp this bottom one. And it's lighter, so it's harder to see, but I'm just going to stamp it without re-inking. Okay, I love the looks of that. It gives it such a neat look. So then this little piece goes in the center, and I'm going to do it the same way. Now I'm going to ink it completely. I'm not sponging anything on that. So I want to do, I line it up. You can see the little round part that's in the middle, so you're just going to go around that. So I'm going to stamp it full strength on the top. And I'm just going to stamp the second one without re-inking. Okay. And then this little triangle looking dot is, I'm going to use the Daffodil Delight. And that goes in the middle. And I am going to re-ink for this because I wanted the yellow to be darker. So I am going to re-ink for that. Okay. And then we've got all our stamping done. So I'm going to close my ink pads all up. Because as you can tell from my hands, I am notorious for sticking my hands in my ink pad. So I'm just going to give my hands a little scrub so I don't mess up our piece. And I can move this out of the way. So then I'm going to come in with my Stampin' Seal. And this piece is ready to adhere to the card. And I'm just doing the same process. I'm just lining it up. And putting that down like that. Okay, and then the next part is where the creativity comes in. So I'm going to bring in all my little die cut pieces, my leaves and my flowers. And this is where you get to just play a little bit, decide what you want, how you want them to go. I usually lay them out before I glue them down because it just helps me to figure out. And what might help too is to open this up, because what you don't want, you want to keep your flowers within this. Even though it's not going to be laid up against it, you want to, for thinking of going in the envelope, you don't want this sticking up like that, okay? So I'm just trying to use that to lay it out because I don't want it to go past that. So I'm just going to just play a little bit. And I don't want them off the side. So that's what's nice about, you can lay them out before you glue anything down. something like that. And when you glue them down, you want to remember you don't want to glue to this piece. So I am going to open it back up to glue down. And what I did is I put together my flower unit and then I glued it to the card base. So I'm just going to take this up, and I'm using the fine tip glue, and I'm just going to put a little glue along the edge. I can't see if the glue's coming out or not. I'm just going to glue this to the side. I guess it didn't come out because it didn't glue. Just going to wipe off my tip. Ooh, it came out that time. Well, that's not working very well. Just gotta hold it a little longer. I'm just going to hold that for a second. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and attach this before I put my leaves on. I'm just going to try to get an idea of where I want it. About like that. And then to put this on, I'm going to use glue dots. So I'm just going to come in with my glue dots. And I'm just going to put them along this bottom. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close this. And I'm just going to lay this along this bottom like that. Okay. Now I'm going to come back in with my leaves. And I'm just going to use a glue dot for this. And we're going to do one of these again. And I'm putting the glue dot on the front of the leaf because I'm going to stick it behind the flower, on the back of the flower, like that. So when I open it up, it's still within the frame of the card, but yet it's not glued to that piece. So then we're ready to do this inside part. And you can see I just did the same kind of thing. We're going to put, and this I actually just went ahead and put down the little one and then brought in the big one in the leaf afterwards. So I think, let's use this little pink one. Put some glue on it and get it glued down. Okay, I think I'm going to use this purple one. And the only thing you want to make sure with this is whatever you're putting down, you don't want it to be so big that it sticks outside the card. So I think I like it about like that. And I'm just going to put some stamp and seal on the back. Just like that. And then you can add as many leaves as you want. Let's see what color leaves I have. I think I want to go with this one. Like that, yeah. So I'm going to get me a another glue dot. And I'm going to stick this under here. There it goes, just like that. So we're done with all these. And then for this, for my sentiment layer, I'm just going to use some dimensionals. And I'm just going to add these on the back. Pop off the backing. And then we're ready to put this on the front. Just like that. So there you have it. You open it up. There's your pansies on the inside. Here's this one. Here's the one that I made at the beginning. So you can see different color flowers are going to make it look different. The placement of the flowers make them look different. But there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this card, and I'll look forward to crafting again with you soon.